Hello everyone, it's Tana. Welcome back to the channel and another video for the Rabbit Hole Designs. Today we're working with simple things from the latest Rabbit Hole Designs release. So we have the back alley stencil here, and I'm just going to use 3 tiny rows of it. And as you can see, I have a whole bunch of gray inks. Pretty much every gray ink I own laid out at the top of the screen there. I had swatched them all out because I knew I wanted to make a monotone card with a pop of color. So I'm using Concord and 9's mushroom ink, I believe, there for the brick wall. And then I'm going to draw just an 1/8 of an inch line to make a little bit of a ledge on that wall. And I color that in with my Zig Natural Gray Clean Color Real Brush Marker. I had a lot of fun with this card. There's a second card where I do exactly the opposite. I use a lot of color, and we'll get to that. But I really like the monotone look with the pop of color. So now I'm using the Clouds in My Coffee stencil. Sorry. I really love this stencil. It's got like everything you could possibly need in the way of clouds, all in one stencil. It's definitely my go-to cloud stencil of late. And I cannot remember. I believe I used Concord and 9's Dove and then Lawn Fawn's Hippo ink. I know I put them on the screen there for you. I just wasn't paying attention. And I ink blended my clouds, just going back and forth between the two colors to give the card a little bit of depth, seeing as how we're just mainly using gray. And because there was you can't really tell on screen, but they were 2 totally different shades of gray, so I used 2 different blending brushes for that. And now I'm going to move, in case you're wondering what that is, those of you who have visited my channel before know that that is snot tape. You can get that on Amazon. It's like a drywaller's painter's tape type of thing that won't tear the paper off of your cards. So then I took my ink pad to paper to make the sidewalk, and I used Hero Art Soft Granite, and I really like the way that looked. It really does look like a sidewalk he's walking on. And as you can see there, sorry for my head there, I need to make sure my small sentiment was straight. So I'm using the hashtag simple things for this card, and I'm stamping that out with Catherine Pooler's Rockin' Red ink. And then I heat embossed some Nouveau Crystal Clear embossing powder over that. And I'm using just a tiny bit of Concord and 9's cranberry cardstock as like a mat for this card before I put it onto its card base. And as you can see, I have my guy colored down there already. So he is in all shades of gray. I did do his body in Copic warm gray tones, and then cool grays for his vest, and then used the red for basically the simple things. His umbrella, his coffee cup, his book and his bow tie, and of course his bowler hat. So we're just going to place him flat on the panel down in the lower right hand corner. And then I also used some of that cranberry cardstock to back the sentiment strip before I placed it onto the card. And I'm using a dark gray card base for that. It was so gray that it matched my silicone mat, and I had to move that so I could put my panel on straight. So now for the second card, I took a grassy die. I'll have it listed down below for you. And I cut it on a piece of cardstock because I'm going to use that cardstock as a stencil. And I need both pieces because I'm going to block off the grass when I do the sky. So I did do 2 layers of the grass, and I tried to make one darker than the other. I used regular distress ink for this. I used Rustic Wilderness for the grass. And I believe I used the Speckled egg for the sky. And I was very careful with that. I wanted to use something other than tumbled glass. Tumbled glass is usually my go-to for a regular blue sky. And this one's a little bit darker in color, so more of a grayish blue, and I didn't want that to come through as too dark. So I tried to go light with that. And I used the inside cloud stencils from the Clouds in My Coffee stencil to block off some white cards, seeing as how this whole background is ink blended. And there's our finished piece there. And I'm pretty sure I gave you a measured size up there. I will make sure it's on the screen before I upload this video for you guys. There was so much ink blending that I skipped this part, but I did go in on the larger panel with the peacock feathers and spun sugar and just ink blended stripes, because you're only going to see the outer edges of that panel. And since I didn't have a die that was quite the size of my card base, I used an old corner punch I had to round out the corners on my card base so that everything was cohesive on the card. So I did opt to go to the OXIDE for stamping out the sentiment for this card, which is Simple Pleasures, I believe, because it tends to stamp when you're using it to stamp better than regular distress ink. I also covered that one with the Nouveau crystal clear embossing powder after I stamped it out. So there is regular double-sided adhesive on that first panel, and then foam tape, one layer of foam tape on that smaller ink blended background. Of course, I'm adding a little bit of glue to my embossing powder. You like that, right? To my foam tape, like I normally do. And once again, we're gluing this cool cat here. I think he's so cool looking. Right down in the lower right hand corner of that main panel. Pop his little sentiment strip right there up by the clouds. And that's it, guys. I hope you like both these cards. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you liked both of the cards here today and you want to see more. Don't forget to sign up for the Rabbit Hole Designs email to be aware of new releases and for lots of inspiration. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye-bye for now.